You've been asking for it and it is finally here. Which portable speaker is the best to buy right now?
Hey guys, Ellen Lou here from Smart Home Sounds, and with so many exciting new portable speakers hitting the shelves over the last 12 months, we thought it was about time we put them all head to head.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the portable speaker market is really heating up. So we've picked out our top 6 options that are available right now, and we're going to be ranking them based on their design, their sound quality, durability, battery life, and additional features to really level the playing field and help you find out which speaker is right for you.
Yeah, now don't worry, for those of you who have watched one of these videos before, we've seen the comments and we know you guys haven't been best pleased about the scoring system of some of these head-to-heads in the past. So to shake things up this time around, we'll be ranking these from 1 to 6 in each category, with 1 being the best and 6 being the worst.
Yeah, but just remember though guys, this is just our opinion, and just because something gets a 6 in one category doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad choice. Our needs, our use cases, and our listening preferences may just be completely different from yours, and although we'll be weighing each of these categories evenly, that definitely doesn't mean that you guys have to.
Yeah, this is all a bit of fun, and we'd love it if you guys scored along with us, but if you're the type of person who values sound performance above all else, or maybe durability is an absolute non-negotiable, it might just be worth weighting those categories more depending on what your priorities are.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and before I forget, if you guys are interested in any of the portable speakers that we mentioned in this video, then please feel free to scan the QR code that is somewhere above our heads right now, or check out the links in the description to find out more. And whilst you're down there, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, because quite honestly, these videos are a real beast to make. So, 6 great speakers that all offer something very different, but which one is going to be the best? Should we find out, Al?
I'll go on there.
Okay then, let's start with the looks, because let's be real, design matters, right? Especially if you want a portable that can do a job both on the go and around the house now and again.
Yeah, I mean, design is a bit of a broad term, so just for clarity, this section is literally just going to focus on the looks and build quality of each speaker, and we'll cover things like durability and the extra features they might have a little later on. I think for me, my favourite has got to be the Emberton 3. Now, I'm the type of person, I like my tech to feel a bit unique, a bit different, and to be honest, the Emberton 3 ticks that box perfectly. I'm a big fan of Marshall's design language for all of their speakers, and the Emberton 3 very much follows the same formula. It's got that classic Marshall design that I think a lot of people really like. I mean, they've made a couple of tweaks with this 3rd iteration. Obviously, it's got that recessed grille now, but you know, you've still got all the things that made it such a great portable beforehand. Obviously, you've got that visible battery life indicator, which is a nice touch. The brass control knob, again, lovely. It's just a really good looking portable speaker that I'd happily have on show.
I can appreciate it. It's the heritage, iconic design, reminiscent of their Marshall amps, but it's just not to my taste. Now, speaking of one of those tweaks, there has been a slight logo change on the front of the grille that I've noticed in comparison to the Emberton 2. It does look like they've cut a bit of a corner by not quite cutting the whole logo out. It's only a minor thing, but...
You are right. I think if you look at these side by side, yes, you do notice the logo probably looks a bit cheaper on the 3rd iteration. But if you were coming in cold, I don't think it would detract from the overall design. So that's why it's not that big a deal for me.
Well, why don't we move on then, and why don't we take a look at the Beats Pill? I don't find it particularly inspiring, if you can call portable speakers inspiring. Now, don't get me wrong, I can appreciate that a lot of people out there may really like the sleek finish of this one, but for me, there's just others I prefer. I'm also not a massive fan of the controls, and there are others in the lineup that are a little bit easier to use, and I do kind of wish it had a battery life indicator.
For me, the Pill is very similar to the Emberton 3 in the sense of like it offers that unique aesthetic that I'm actually quite a big fan of. I like the premium finish. Yes, it is a little bit heavier, but it's got a decent carry strap, which can't be said for some of the others in this lineup, like the Roam or Marshall, for example. I think because it's a bit weightier, it feels premium, and to be honest, I'd probably rank it quite highly.
Fair enough.
Right then, Lou, where do you want to go next?
Why don't we take a look at the Roam 2?
Okay, right, so obviously this is very classic Sonos, isn't it? And I can appreciate the design language. Again, I like a lot of their stuff, and the Roam, very similar to a lot of their products. It's not as unique as some of the others in this lineup, so I don't think it takes anywhere near top spot, but it's a good looking portable speaker. I like the shape, obviously the fact you can have it horizontally or vertically, that's a nice touch. But yeah, not my favorite.
I'm like you, I really like the look of Sonos products in general, and the Roam 2 just follows that design language. It's premium, it's modern. I like the fact it's been updated slightly. You've got the inclusion of the Bluetooth button on the back of this one now versus the previous Roam. The top panel controls aren't my favorite, but they do come in some pretty cool colors, to be fair. But I think you've mentioned a really important point there. This one has got the ability to either lay flat or be stood upright, and it doesn't affect the sound performance.
Yeah.
And that is a really big point to take into consideration because it's got that extra versatility that some of these other options don't have.
Yeah.
And I don't think that can be overlooked.
No, it definitely stands it in good stead.
Right then, let's move on and talk about the Bose SoundLink Flex 2. Now, Al, you're probably not going to be surprised to hear this, but I'm not really a massive fan of this one either. No. I'm just not really sold on this sort of shape. I do prefer it when it's stood up versus when it's laid flat. And I like the fact you have got the ability to have a different orientation. Again, we've already mentioned this, but with some of these speakers, you can't. But it's these controls along the top. They are so reminiscent of the Beats Pill ones. They're just not very tactile. I found them a little bit difficult to use previously, and overall, it's just not doing it for me.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm pretty similar. It's not my favourite in this lineup, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't mind the pill shape. I quite like that it's a bit flatter. I think it fits into your bag a bit easier, you know, when you've got loads in there and you're going on a trip away, which is a nice bonus. But yeah, for me, it's just not my favourite. I think there are others in this lineup that I prefer.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there who do like the design of this one. Otherwise, it would have undergone some sort of change. But this is basically identical.
Yeah.
To the first iteration. But what I want to do now is move on to the JBL Flip 6.
Right.
The Flip 6 combines my favourite aspects of all of these speakers in one neat package. And that says a lot considering it was released quite a long time ago now in comparison to the rest of these that we've got here. Couple of reasons why. First of all, I've been banging on about controls all day. The controls on this one are so much more tactile. And I love the fact that they're super intuitive, easy to use. You've got a battery life indicator on the back like you do have with the Emberton 3. And it's got a good carry strap, which is nice and handy, along with plenty of colours to choose from. So there really is an option for everyone. I think out of the lineup, this is the out and out portable speaker, something you chuck in your rucksack, you're taking for a weekend away, you're throwing it around on the beach and you've got no worries.
Yeah, Luke, I think you've taken the words right out of my mouth. This is exactly what you'd imagine if you got told to think up a portable speaker, isn't it? There are others in the lineup that I prefer, but you know, you can't argue with the design for all the reasons you mentioned. So a real nice pick. But anyway, last one, Boom 4, what are you thinking?
Now, I'm actually going to be scoring the Boom 4 quite highly for a lot of the same reasons why I love the Flip 6. I think this, again, is just out and out portable. It's super hardware, and the actual design of this one, I mean, I would have complete confidence throwing this around. The controls are very obvious, probably more obvious than any portable we've got here. A little bit on the heavier side, but I don't mind that. I'm just a fan of it. I think it looks quite cool. I know those controls are divisive, but I don't mind them.
Those volume buttons are going to be very divisive, and if I'm honest, they're just not to my taste. It's a bit basic for me, and although I feel a bit guilty for where I'm going to rank this one, it just doesn't do it for me the same way the others do.
So with all that being said then, Al, how are you going to rank these?
Okay, so for me, I've got the Emberton 3 in top spot, followed by the Beats Pill. Then it's going to be the Flip 6. Then I'm going to have the Sonos Roam 2, Bose SoundLink Flex 2, and then the UE Boom 4. How about you, Lou?
So coming in at top spot for me is the JBL Flip 6. Next up, I'm going for the UE Boom 4. In third spot, the Sonos Roam 2. In fourth, I'm going for the Bose SoundLink Flex 2. In fifth, I'm going for the Emberton 3. And finally, in sixth spot is the Beats Pill.
Okay, so it's all well and good a speaker looking great, right? But what about the most important part? Sound quality. Where do you want to start there?
I don't think we can go any further without talking about the Bose SoundLink Flex 2. I think the actual sound profile from this one is my favourite. It's rich, it's warm, and it's surprisingly bassy. I think there's quite a lot more on the low end than what people anticipate.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of my favourite things about this one. I absolutely love the Position IQ technology in this one that adjusts the sound based on placement. So I've taken this away with me on holidays, camping, all sorts of trips. And I feel like that's worked really, really well. Overall, pure sound quality wise, I cannot look past the SoundLink Flex 2.
No, and I think you're spot on. There's no doubt this is a very, very high performance speaker. I agree with everything you said. I think it's a great combination of volume, bass, and clarity. And every time I've listened to it, I've been really, really impressed. And I think it's just an enjoyable listen. It's not top spot for me. It's probably a very, very close second.
Okay.
I think the Marshall Emberton 3 just pips it.
Wow. Okay. Tell me why.
Well, first of all, I think it's got that very, very classic Marshall sound signature, which I'm a big fan of personally. We've got true stereophonic sound in here, which obviously is that 3D sound, and it goes the loudest. For me personally, I like to listen to my music loud, whether I'm in the shower, in my bedroom, whatever. I whack the volume up. So this ticks that box for me massively. You've also got dynamic loudness in here as well, which obviously helps keep the sound as good as possible as you increase the volume, which for someone like me, again, who listens loud, a huge, huge benefit. So yeah, that's why it takes top spot. It's close, but it just nips it.
I can really appreciate that Marshall sound signature, and I think if you like that, you are going to love this speaker. It is a decent upgrade over the Emberton 2. You've got a surprisingly weighty low end, all things considered, but it's those crisp vocals that you get with Marshall speakers that I think a lot of people are going to love. So overall, I think it's a great sounding speaker, but there are a couple of others just above it for me.
So what are you ranking above the Emberton 3 then?
Well, other than the Bose Soundlink Flex 2, my next favourite is the Sonos Roam 2. First of all, the dual orientation, right? You can have this one lay flat or stood upright. Having that flexibility is really cool. And also when you do that, obviously the speaker automatically tunes to suit its orientation and its placement, which is really, really handy. Being a Sonos product, obviously you get those really nice true to life sounds. It's almost like a Sonos signature sound, isn't it, right? Really high end, really clean. You get details on the Roam that you probably don't get on the majority of these other portable speakers here. It's not the loudest by a long way. So if that is something that you're looking for, you want something that's just gonna be loud, like you said, right? You just wanna listen loud, then it's probably not necessarily the one to go for. But I think for that more kind of high-end listening and someone who just appreciates good sound quality, I don't think you need to look any further.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one, to be fair. I'm not as bothered about more nuanced listening and that refined listening experience that you do get with Sonos and all of their wireless speakers, to be fair. Can appreciate the quality of it, it's just not quite set to my use case.
Ah, fair enough. Where should we head to next then, now?
Let's take a look at the Beats Pill, because I really, really wanted to like this one, but having tested it, I just can't get over the volume. There's detail, but it just doesn't go very loud.
That was what was actually quite surprising to me. It's decent at those kind of mid to lower volumes with a really nice sound profile, and it does lean a little bit more towards what I prefer, which is that slightly more refined listening experience, or as refined as you can get from a portable. And I do think it has slightly better bass than something like the Roam 2, but the fact that you just don't really have the ability to crank this up just means that I can't score this one very highly.
No, and I think I'm in agreement with you on that one.
Why don't we take a look at the JBL Flip 6?
Yeah, so I actually think this is a really, really interesting one, but I think it still holds up really, really well. It's a good all-rounder, and obviously you get great bang for your buck. Like, it's classic JBL, isn't it? Like, you know exactly what you're going to get with them when it comes to their sound profile. And although it's not perfect, it's a very fun and enjoyable listen, and I can see why a lot of people love this speaker.
When you think JBL, you think louder listening, party vibes, and that's pretty much exactly what you get with the Flip 6.
Yeah, and I do think the competition has caught up, but it's still a very, very good portable speaker, and I don't think you're going to be able to go wrong with it.
I can't rank it as highly because it just doesn't offer that level of detail, or it's not really a refined listening portable experience. It's JBL, it's party vibes, and I think if that's what you're after, look no further. Finally then, let's take a look at the UE Boom 4, and it's just not doing it for me. It's loud, which is great, but it's by no means the cleanest. It's a little bit more artificial than a lot of the other speakers we've got here. It's still good, and it's definitely an improvement over the Gen 3, but I think it's just a real shame it's against some incredible competitors.
Yeah, it's a victim of his own success, isn't it? Like, I think to be on this table, you have to be a very good sounding portable speaker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're going up against 5 other very good sounding portable speakers. So I agree, it's not the best on this table by any stretch. It's not the cleanest sounding, the vocals aren't as refined as some of the others, but the fact it goes louder than the Pill probably means it's a bit more suited to my use case.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah, all in all, I think I agree with a lot of your points on it. I just think it's not quite as refined as the others at max volume to warrant being any higher.
That's fair enough then. I think what we need to do now is get the table back up and put these into some sort of order.
Yeah, here we go. Right then, Lou, how do you have them?
Well, I don't think it will come as any surprise that in top spot is the Bose Soundlink Flex 2, followed up by the Sonos Roam 2. Coming in third place, I've got the Marshall Emberton 3. Fourth is the JBL Flip 6. 5 is the Beats Pill, which means finally at the bottom, I've got the UE Boom 4. What about yourself, mate?
So for me, a bit of a shootout for top spot, but the Marshall Emberton 3 just takes it. It's then followed by the Bose Soundlink Flex 2. We've got the Flip 6 in third place, the Sonos Roam 2 in fourth, UE Boom 4 in fifth, and then the Beats Pill languishing at the bottom.
Moving on then, guys, and we're going to talk all things durability because, let's be honest, there's no point in owning a portable speaker if you're not going to feel confident throwing this thing around, taking it on holiday, all those sorts of things. And we're going to start with one that has been tried and tested over the course of years now here at Smart Home Sounds, and that's the Flip 6. This one visibly I mean, you can see the rubber on the top. There's some marks on the logo itself. We have used this as an American football. We've kicked this, we've thrown it, it's gone to the beach, it's been in swimming pools. Golf clubs. I mean, this is super rugged, super durable, and it is everything that I'm looking for in a portable speaker when it comes to durability. I don't know about yourself, Al, but I don't think you can really argue with that one.
No, mate, spot on. Not only has it taken a battering, but it's also obviously IP67 rated, so waterproof and dustproof, and it's nice and lightweight too. It's probably about, what, half a kilo?
I think we're both going to be fans of this one if we were both fans of the JBL Flip 6, probably for very similar reasons, right? Initially, this speaker just feels hardware in, it's rugged, there's no exposed controls or logos or anything like that that are going to scratch up easy. This fabric is super hardware in. I'm just a massive fan of this speaker, and of course it's IP67 rated, just like the Flip 6 as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is one thing that UE get really, really right, and to be honest, I've had a lot of their previous speakers in the past, so like Boom 2, Boom 3, whatever, and this one is exactly the same. I have a lot of confidence that whether I'm at the beach, whether I'm at home, whatever I'm doing, this will be able to pass the test of time with ease.
Yeah, this could have taken the top spot for me. It's just the fact that it's a little bit larger and a little bit bulkier that I haven't scored it any higher than the Flip 6.
It's a little bit weightier, so, you know, if you are going to drop it, maybe you're going to get a bit more damage.
We've obviously tested the original SoundLink Flex for years now, and basically nothing has changed design-wise with this newer iteration, and this has held up really, really well. One thing to mention is the fact that if you do drop this one face down, obviously this front metal grille is exposed, so it does scratch up a little bit easier than some of the other portable options we've got here. But I love the fact that you've got this nice soft touch sort of surround that does kind of encase the speaker, and although it does scratch up a little bit easier, the majority of the scratches do just brush off. Again, IP67 rated. It's also the most buoyant speaker from our testing, so if you do spend a lot of time chilling poolside, then that might be something to consider. I think it's a very, very solid option, and all the testing we've done with it has never, ever impacted performance at all.
I completely agree, and I do think it is a very durable speaker, and I think it's a little bit more premium. I actually think the Edmonton 3 is probably a bit more secure in my opinion. That rubber exterior, really shock absorbent, and to be honest, even when we were testing it for the video, it could handle everything, couldn't it?
Yeah.
The tweaks they've made, again, that recessed grille, protects it a little bit more than the previous iteration. I've got full confidence in this one as well.
That improvement with the recessed grille is huge, and it will protect it numerous times if you do end up dropping it. But I just can't score it quite as highly because it is a little bit heavier than some of the other portable options. Moving on then, let's talk about the Sonos Roam 2. IP67 rated, fairly lightweight, so it can definitely take a tumble, which is great news. But what's different about this speaker in comparison to some of the others is this grille is completely exposed. So unlike the Marshall, for example, if you drop this one face down, it is going to scratch it up slightly, especially with the black colorway. If you're not worried about the overall aesthetic of the speaker, then you'll have no real issues with that. But there are some others here in this lineup that probably do survive or hold up a little bit better after they've been tested.
As with a lot of Sonos' stuff, this is the trade-off you make.
Yeah.
You get a bit more of that premium finish, that aesthetic design, but that sacrifice has to come somewhere.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's that durability factor, isn't it?
Yeah. The JBL Flip 6, for example, that I think is built with durability in mind.
Yeah.
This one is more of a premium, more aesthetic, modern looking speaker. So you're exactly right. You're going to have to sacrifice something somewhere.
And I think that's where the use case also matters. Is this the type of speaker that you're going to have around the home more so than taking on the go?
Finally then, we've got the Beats Pill. Now, what's quite surprising about this one is it's a lot heavier than what I initially thought it would be when I first unboxed it, especially given its size, right?
I think it's the shape. It just feels like a bit denser, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just wouldn't have as much confidence in dropping this one versus any of the others. This is quite a weighty speaker, and I think it would make a little bit of a dent. We have drop tested it a little bit and it's held up well, but in comparison to the rest of these here in the lineup, this is the one that I'd feel least confident in.
Again, I think it's similar to the Roam 2 in that sense. It's premium design over durability.
From my point of view, I think it's fairly obvious that my top pick is going to be the JBL Flip 6 coming in at that #1 spot. Next up, I've got the UE Boom 4 taking the second place, and thirdly, I've got the Bose SoundLink Flex 2. In fourth spot, I've got the Marshall Edmonton 3. I've then got the Sonos Roam 2, and finally, I've got the Beats Pill.
Nice. And for me, again, I've also got the Flip 6 taking #1 spot, followed by the UE Boom 4. Then it's going to be the Marshall Edmonton 3, then the Bose Soundlink Flex 2, followed by the Sonos Roam 2 in 5th, and then, yeah, in last spot, it's the Beats Pill.
Okay, so I think there's only really one place to start, and that is the Marshall Edmonton 3. We've got a 32-hour battery life and a 2-hour recharge time, which is just the best of the bunch by a long way. So don't think we can rank that one any higher, right?
No arguments. That is the best. Oh, and before I forget, there's also 20 minutes of quick charging. Will give you 6 hours of extra playback, which is brilliant, right?
Yeah, if you're after a portable that's going to be able to keep up with either a really busy lifestyle or maybe being on the go more often than not, then that quick charge time paired with the long-lasting battery life is a no-brainer. Next up then, we've got the Beats Pill. Now this one is not the best, but it's still very impressive, right?
Yeah, so you're going to get about 24 hours of battery life in this one, which is going to be plenty enough for most day-to-day usage, isn't it? There's also quick charge on this one as well, so 10 minutes of charging will get you another 2 hours. Brilliant. If you're rushing out the door and you need a bit of juice, ideal. So again, can't really argue with it. It's a solid second place.
Yeah, and I think realistically 24 hours is going to be more than enough for most people's use case. So if you're not desperate for the longest battery life, then this will still be a very good option.
So should we go to the Boom 4?
Yeah, so this one is kind of middle of the pack, right? So you get a 15-hour battery life in total from a 2.5 to 3 hour recharge time, which is pretty decent.
Yeah, definitely. Middle of the road, can't really complain with it. The only thing I would say is for those of you who have had the Boom 3 or something like that, you will notice on the bottom here, there's no space for that charging dock, which for some people will be a bit of a bugbear, but you know, if you're new to the ecosystem, you won't really notice it. Right, so let's address the portable speaker with the lowest battery life. So that is the Roam 2, and this one's going to give you 10 hours of battery on a full charge. But for me, considering the price you're paying, I would be expecting a little bit more. Now, I know that you can get a charging dock, which is a plus, but that will cost you an extra 50 odd quid, which isn't going to suit everybody.
True, but if you're someone like me who's maybe already got the dock at home from the old Roam, then you will experience the benefit of it always being charged if you're leaving it on the dock without that extra cost, which is a nice plus. And of course, you have also got that battery saver mode as well. So that is just something to think about. Finally, we've paired the Flip 6 and the Soundlink Flex 2 together, right? Because they've got the same battery life, which is 12 hours, but the Flip 6 does have a slightly quicker recharge time.
Yeah, so we're looking at about 2.5 hours to charge the Flip 6 and up to 4 hours to charge the Bose. Now, don't get me wrong, both of these will give you a good day's worth of listening, but if you're looking to maximize your playtime, some of the others in this lineup will be a better option. Right, when it comes to ranking these, I think we're both going off the numbers, aren't we? So we're pretty aligned.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through it?
Yeah, definitely. So taking that top spot, the Marshall Edmonton 3. We're then putting the Beats Pill second place, right? Got the UE Boom 4 in third, the JBL Flip 6 in fourth, the Bose Soundlink Flex in fifth, and finally the Sonos Roam 2 in sixth. Finally, guys, we're on to additional features, and this is what could make or break your decision when it comes to choosing out of these portable speakers. So, Elle, I think there's one place to start, and that is the Sonos Roam 2.
And to be fair, that was where I was going to go first as well. Now, you're probably better versed than me to speak about this one because you're already heavily invested into the Sonos ecosystem, but one of Sonos's key selling points is that wider multi-room support and obviously the app functionality and things like that.
If you're already invested in the Sonos ecosystem like I was before I picked up a Roam 2, then I think this really is a no-brainer. The fact that you can just walk back in, put the Roam on the dock, connect it up to the rest of your home ecosystem, but then you want to head out for the day, just take it out with you. It's so seamless. As I've already mentioned, you've also got the ability to use the sound swap feature. You've got Bluetooth 5.2 on board, and that now works straight out of the box.
A real nice addition, that was.
Yeah, that definitely can't be overlooked. And Wi-Fi streaming, and of course EQ adjustments that you can make use of in the Sonos app. I would obviously benefit a lot more from some of these features than someone who doesn't have any Sonos in their home whatsoever, but I don't think you can argue with the fact that when it does come to features, the Roam 2 is packed. So let's talk about the UE Boom 4 then. Al, do you want to kick us off with this one?
Yeah. So if I just run you guys through the specs first and foremost. So you've got Bluetooth 5.0 on board with this one. Now, that's not the best out of these speakers, but obviously it's a viable form of connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to get 45 meter range, which is decent. And obviously it can connect to all the other Boom speakers in the UE range. So that's really handy if you're the type of person who's got a lot of UE speakers at home, or you've got friends with those types of speakers. This could be a really, really good pick.
I think there's a couple of cool things about this speaker as well. One of them is you've got the alarm and the megaphone feature, which can actually be quite funny. So basically you can, in the app, connect up to the speaker and use this speaker as a microphone, basically, right? Yeah. So you talk into your phone and it projects your voice out of here, which is quite funny.
We've had some good fun with that.
We have. But also it's quite cool, like in a party scenario, for example, if you're trying to get everyone's attention and you've got a couple of these connected up, you can just use that feature. So yeah, have a bit of a laugh with that. You've also got the magic button that can skip tracks and playlists as well. So there's a couple of cool little quirky features in there, which I think are quite good fun to use. Yeah. So we're going to head over now and talk about the Marshall Emerton 3. So this one has got Bluetooth 5.3 LE and a 100 meter range, plus speakerphone functionality. And it's also now got Auracast as well.
Yes. Now, the only thing on that is not many speakers in the Marshall lineup currently support that. So
it's more future-proofing, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it's great if you're moving further into the range, but for right now, you're probably not going to benefit from that feature just yet. The only thing I would say as well is, as someone who likes to tweak their audio and sound profiles and stuff like that, the EQ on the Marshall app is pretty limited as well. So that is something to think about. However, I would say as someone who likes the sound straight out of the box, you might not need to do that.
Yeah, and I think one important point to mention is that you can't actually use stack mode now, though, with the Emerton 3, right? Because of like Auracast and these new features and it being a bit more future-proofed, you can't pair this with the old speakers in stack mode, so like the Emerton 2 and that sort of thing. So I think that is just one important point to mention. But when you look at the feature set of the Emerton 3 versus the others we've got here, I think it's a pretty decent middle ground option, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Next up then, we've got the JBL Flip 6. Now this one's quite an interesting one, right? Because it's been out for a lot longer than other portable options that we've got here. So features wise, it is going to be a little bit limited in comparison. So we've got Bluetooth 5.1 and we've also got Party Boost rather than Auracast, because obviously it is one of the older JBL models.
Like you say, I think this is where this speaker starts showing its age a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously we've had products like the Go 4 come out and stuff like that. They obviously now feature Auracast. So if you're looking at this one, you do have to bear in mind that it just doesn't give you that future-proof option that something maybe newer in this lineup might do. I think the companion app is decent. Obviously, you can tweak the bass and amplify the audio, but there's not much to do in there. And to be honest, it doesn't need it, but if you're someone who really wants a feature-packed speaker, this probably isn't the one you're going to want to go for.
It's sort of like a ready-to-listen speaker, right? Take it straight out of the box and just play.
Right then, Lou, do you mind if we move on to the Bose SoundLink Flex 2?
Let's do it.
Yeah, so this one's going to get you Bluetooth 5.3. Obviously, you've got Position IQ tech in there, which we've spoken about a lot. So obviously, that's how the performance adjusts based on the orientation of the speaker.
Yeah.
You can obviously stereo pair this one with another Bose SoundLink Flex 2, which is ideal. And there's speakerphone functionality, which is great if you're going to be using this in maybe like an office scenario or something like that.
Yeah, and a couple of other things to mention. So you get around about a 30-foot range when connected via Bluetooth, which is probably all you're going to need in all reality. And you've also got a little bit of app functionality as well. So you can now adjust the EQ and things like that, which is always helpful if you do want to have a bit of a play around with your settings there. So again, definitely not the most feature rich, but pretty solid. And I think most people are going to be very happy with the sound performance with this one right out of the box.
Yeah.
So I don't think not having a wealth of EQ adjustments is the end of the world. I think it's another pretty solid middle of the road speaker when it comes to features.
Yeah, I agree.
Lastly then, we've got the Beats Pill. Now this one has actually got quite a lot going on. So we've got class 1 Bluetooth, so upwards of 100 meters of range when we've tested it, which is really impressive. We've got one touch pairing, and of course we've got Find My functionality. So for any of you guys, like we are on iOS, right? That cannot be understated. I don't know how many times I have gone away on holiday, put the speaker down somewhere, played it for a bit, turned it off, gone out for a meal, come back, and then I've lost it. And having that Find My functionality is actually something that I find super helpful. I don't know about you, Al, but...
No, I agree, definitely. And I mean, it's helpful just you finding what we need when we're going out and about.
The Beats Pill supports lossless audio over USB-C, right? Which is another really cool feature. Something I definitely don't think you can overlook, especially for those of you out there who want to be listening to your high-res audio.
Yeah, definitely. A real neat feature there. Now, there's also speakerphone functionality and voice assistance. And there's also 2 separate modes. So there's amplify mode, which just pairs 2 together and plays the same audio at the same time, which is nice. And there's also a stereo mode, so you can have dedicated left and right channels, which again is another neat feature that if you're someone who cares more about your playback, you're going to enjoy that. Obviously, there's also power bank functionality as well, which is really handy. The only thing that I think holds this one back a little bit It says no EQ functionality at all.
It would have been even nicer to have had the functionality to just tweak things a little bit more to your preference. But of course, we're talking about portable speakers, right?
Yeah.
So there's only a certain level of performance you're going to get from these. But on the whole, I think this one is seriously rich with features and a lot of features that I would definitely make use of. Now we've covered all of them out. We've got to rank them.
Yeah, let's get to it.
So I'm putting the Sonos Roam 2 in first place, followed very closely by the Beats Pill in second. I'm going for the Marshall Emberton 3 in third place, the UE Boom 4 in fourth place, the Bose SoundLink Flex 2 in fifth, and finally the JBL Flip 6 in the last spot.
Yeah, and to be honest, pretty similar from me. I've got the Sonos Roam 2 in first, followed by the Beats Pill, and I think that's solely because of that EQ. We've then got the UE Boom 4 in third, Marshall Emberton 3 in fourth, Bose SoundLink Flex 2 in fifth, and then the JBL Flip 6 rounding out the lineup.
Right then, there we have it out. I think it's about time we totaled up all of our scores, so why don't we start with yours?
Yeah, so for me, in last place, I've got the Bose SoundLink Flex 2. I've then got the Roam 2 in fifth, followed by the UE Boom 4. Then it's the Beats Pill. In second place, it's the JBL Flip 6. And then taking the win overall for me is the Marshall Emberton 3, which sounds about right. How about you, Lou?
Yeah, so for me, last place was the Beats Pill. Next was the Bose. Next, it was actually a tie between the Roam 2 and the Boom 4. And then finally, the winner for me was shared between the Emberton 3 and the JBL Flip 6.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know about you, but although we've got different orders, I think the biggest thing to take from this whole video is that you're not really going to be losing out with any of these options, are you?
No, you're spot on. I think it goes back to what we mentioned right at the very start of this video, right? This sort of head-to-head is all about personal preferences, because although the Emberton and the Flip 6 won it for me overall, I'm not necessarily sure that they're the ones that I'd end up picking if I had the choice. Firstly, the fact that my scores were all very, very close is just proof that these are all very capable portable speakers. But if I think about my specific use case, you've really got to sit there and consider the SoundLink Flex based on that category alone.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think for you guys watching, it just shows the importance of weighting the categories you value the most a little bit more. The whole point of this video isn't to be a definitive list you should swear by. It's just a good exercise to help you find out what your non-negotiables are as and when you're ready to buy. Plus, you can't forget about price and value for money either. Although these are all similarly priced models, based on their age, those prices will vary. So it's worth considering that too when you're thinking of buying.
Definitely. Anyway, for a bit of fun now, should we tally up our combined scores and see what came out on top overall?
Yeah, why not?
So, by the looks of things, our overall 2025 winner with a combined score of 26 is the Marshall Emberton 3.
Now, whether you agree with us or not, make sure you let us know down in the comment section below. We're super excited to hear your thoughts. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe too. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.